All right, let's call the meeting to order. 6 o'clock. There's some questions.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, please silence any device if you haven't already. Do we have any additions or deletions for the agenda?
I have one thing, let me just get back to it, I just noted that, and it wasn't.
Oh, are you on the agenda
Yeah,
itself?
on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, on the, I'm sorry, it's on the past minutes.
Okay.
Sorry about
So
that,
anything for the agenda?
just don't forget.
All right, seeing none, do we have a motion to approve? All right, do I hear a second? Second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, motion carries 5-0. Public comment, this is your opportunity for any item that's not on the agenda. We have 5 minutes total. Is there any public comment? Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Dave Dumas. I'm the Director of Harvest Ministries here at Tuolumne. I want to commend the board and the staff on a great season. Concerts in the park were great. And on behalf of Vets Helping Vets and Harvest Ministries, we want to present a check for $200 to TPRD to do with whatever you want.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Any other public comment? Items not on the agenda? Yeah, John.
Okay, I'm John Ferriani, I'm the board president of Tuolumne Sanitary District. I've been for the past 10 years. I want to give a kind of an update on the projects that are happening in town. Everybody's on the road's been kind of torn up. That's kind of a phase 1 of 3 or 4 phases of major line replacements, and luckily we're able to actually replace the laterals from the house out and from the clean out, which is not normal, but we put funds in to do it because people can't normally afford that. They're gonna start paving the roads on the 18th of September, this next few days. So just wanna make that clear so everybody knows. And kind of some good news, the trenches were 3 foot wide and we were able to negotiate and work with the contractor and the paving contractor. And they're gonna come in and they're gonna actually grind 10 feet wide because they can bring a machine in. Instead of patching a 3 foot patch, you're gonna do 10 foot in most places and pave 10 foot strips. So I think it's still going to help improve the roads and be much better than they were. I just want to give a quick brief history of the sanitary district and what's happened in the future is when we took it over about 10 years plus ago, we were about $1.5 million in debt. We had an unfinished plant. We got a $5 million loan, a 40-year at 2%. It was a good loan. We were able to finish the plant. Now we have a state-of-the-art treatment plant and brand new buildings, multiple use buildings. And we're running about half capacity, so we have room to grow. The community sees the sense to do that. If you haven't been down there, it's really worth the trip to actually see what's been accomplished. We took in, the tribe was having problems with their septics. They got a grant, they installed sewer lines, maintained their own sewer lines like they do with the water lines on the Rancheria. We had one point of contact that we collect their sewer and helps the Turnack Basin. So we solved some major problems with the septic on the Turnack. We have about 3.5 million reserves now. We have a special fund that I created with our tax money. It's kind of like an unassigned tax money, so it's able to be used for anything that the community would want. If we got a CSD, we can use it, but it's unassigned money. any rates that are paid, hookup fees, those have to go to sewer, so they can't be used for anything else. But this fund has over 800,000 in it. It was created by tax money that we get our share of taxes every year. We'll get an additional 85,000 every year, and that amount grows in the future. So that kind of, if we had a CSD, would have been something we could use for community projects. We got the first, backing up to the 2017, our first grant we got was $8 million, and it did the planning. We did a couple $1 million worth of work at the plant, and this phase that we just completed. We just received notice we're gonna get an additional 2.2 million grant, and we're gonna probably use that for some computer or SCADA stuff to control the plant and help the process. We're also in the process of getting another 1.8, 6 million, and maybe a $9.5 million grant we're applying for and have a good chance of getting it. Coming up in the future here to complete the new line replacements throughout the town. All this was done by our staff and the general manager that had a lot of knowledge of how to acquire these grants. He costs roughly $67,000 a year, and a lot of his times were paid through the grant money when he worked on the grant stuff. So very, very minimal cost for a major. Again, we saw that 800,000 plus 85 a year that coming up that the CSD is not one. We won't be able to use it other than buy stuff with sewer plant, which we have reserved already for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, moving on. The consent agenda. Do I hear any discussion, changes, additions, deletions?
Yeah, that's where I'd like to just ask. We were all agreed that we would approve for James to have that requested amount that he could spend without, coming to the board member. But there was a time frame there, and I thought we moved it to six, we went back and forth between 6 months and a year. But that's not either a time frame that's reflected here as far as I'm reading. What's in the minutes?
7.3. If you look below
7.3.
the second bullet point in
For
bold.
6 months,
And
okay, thank you.
No worries.
Mark,
I had to read those.
my eyes have been very tired with all the reading.
I understand. Anything else related to notes, routine bills, or warrants? Oh, all right. Anyone have a motion to accept as written?
Motion to accept the consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries by. All right, carrying on correspondence, there is for the board, CSTA sent out little flyers. It would appear in reading this that all of us can take advantage of some of their online and free stuff, so feel free to look that over. Kelly, thank you for your letter. And we also got from the Kiwanis Club of Sonora a donation letter. They gave us $3,000. Yeah. So, thank you for that. And from, looks like a law firm in Modesto. They have a client who'd like to dedicate us 1 acre of real property to the district. It's located adjacent to the trail.
But he called today and I wasn't able to talk to him. And he was talking to Kelly and giving her, first of all, gave her a parcel number that we couldn't find. And long story short, I feel like he's is confusing us with the county and that it may be property adjacent to the tracks down by Shears. And I need to call this man and clarify that. So, it appears to be a mistake.
All right, so stand by to stand by.
Yeah.
All right. safety report.
There were no employee accidents or liabilities as of the time that this was written. There's no new business or old business. Playgrounds are in good shape and cleaned daily. We're still waiting, I think, for our report from Capri as far as the inspection earlier in the year. That's it.
GM report.
We met with Robert Hawks, and I don't know, Kelly, did you have a chance to put that in your financial? No, this was Monday morning. We met with Robert Hawks, and we talked with him about a concern in his, so he got the review of the audit, and there was a question about amortizing all of our capital, our buildings, our equipment, anything over $1,000. And he's going to provide a spreadsheet kind of form for us to continue to do that. And that was the thing he explained where a few years ago, the state made a blanket change in the accounting where government agencies had not amortized or kept track of their real properties. And all of a sudden, we're required to do so. And it's not that we're out of compliance or anything, it's just that we're gonna begin to do that.
As of this year, or was it a few years
It was a few years ago. Yeah. So that was one of the things that he was helping us with. We also talked about the Wilsons the last time we met, and that'll come up later. We're mentioning the idea of possibly selling a bond to purchase their building. And we did a little bit of research on that. And he's going to send us an amortization schedule as if we were to sell a bond for $300,000. But what interest would look like and principal would look like and such. So we haven't received that yet, but those are the things that we talked about. And what else, Kelly? What did we talk about? He mentioned,
balance.
yes, the general fund balance, and within that review, there is an accounting of all of our properties, all of our assets versus liabilities, and there's a number there that was like $36,000 outstanding, and the norm within the accounting is that 2 times that held in reserve is adequate. So basically, he's saying that that number was like 36,000. So he was saying that 72,000 held in reserve in our accounts would be adequate. Because we were talking about, the idea that we went and we committed the monies for the theater and the bike park to be spent. And obviously, the idea is that we're gonna recoup all of that without having to spend all of it. And there was concern from the board that the general fund would be drawn down to a point where it might be cautionary.
Yeah, I always remember, I remember him talking that every time he came and presented, with the audits or whatever, he always talked about that,
Yeah.
You really would need to, but.
It's spelled out, I don't know that I can explain it plainly, but if you wanted to look at within his audit report, there's a few pages there of the spreadsheet that can illustrate what you're coming. So we had that meeting on Monday. And then I got an email, and I subsequently had a conversation with the new owners of the property down at River Ranch, and we're gonna set up a meeting in October. At some point in October. She sent 3 dates, I think, and we'll look at those. Their big thing is just to try to open it up for helping kids and underprivileged kids and getting them out into nature and making a camp-like environment down there. Finished the underground at the theater site, and the building is scheduled for delivery on, September 27th. It's 2 weeks from today. And then we walked the bike track property with Daryl Tinkle and is it Jimbo? And they're offering to bring some of their equipment from the Bear Creek, from the games building development down and help us with a lot of grading and stuff. Bring some fill dirt and grade it out, which was really nice. So we'll schedule that. And that's it.
All right, any questions, comments from the board? Nope. None reports. All right, office maintenance report, let's do that one first.
Well, maintenance has been normal, really, summertime. Mowing, irrigating, cleaning, nothing out of the ordinary. The bathrooms at the library, ball field are working well. We've had a few Little League events where they've had clinics, baseball clinics and stuff over the weekends. The hall has gotten a lot of use on the weekends and a lot of bounce houses and whatnot, but everything is in good order.
Anything from the board?
Maintenance.
Okay. Office events report.
Go Kelly.
Coach?
Our show was amazing.
Yeah.
Our show was really well attended, there was a lot of people there. It was amazing. Now we're working on the bike day in the park for September 30th and getting some great response tomorrow. So,
We've booked pumpkin patch for the Kenters. We're working on it. I've booked some vendors for the Christmas parade. And we're gearing up for Halloween parade next month.
It's great. I just want to thank you guys. Is it time for us to talk more?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that.
No, yes, 100%.
I just want to say, not having been in town, because I've been commuting for years on Wednesdays, how thankful I am and all the hard work that you do every single week to make those amazing concerts happen. All of you, the whole staff, goes above and beyond. And at one point, I'm not quite sure where I heard or saw this, but it didn't look like staff was submitting enough hours for the work they actually do. So one of the things I want to formally say is, you do the work, you're worth the money. We've got to have a consistent way to pay you for the work that you do. And what I've known and seen is that people volunteer their time when they're staff members. And that is your right, but we need a true representation of what it costs to do business here. And you're all worth the money that you're getting paid, so please, either put down the hours so we can sign for them, or take the clock time, or whatever works best for the office to make sure that you get paid for the work you do here. And not have any, just like volunteering because you feel like, somebody would criticize you for taking pay for the work you do. That's important. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for recognizing and acknowledging that, Gretchen. The concerts over the last few years have become more and more well attended, or to say that there's more and more people attending the concert. A lot of people from outside the area, and nothing but positive comments. Yeah, and you didn't see it last Wednesday. Well, last Wednesday was the final one, and it was an add-on first week in September. But the Wednesday in August 30th, I believe, we had a classic car show, and there were like 36 cars out there. Kelly served, I don't know how many root beer floats and stuff, and so it was really well received. I think so we tried a few different things this year with the beer garden and the beer and wine and stuff, and I think that we'll probably keep those, do them again, maybe one a month. And if we do the car show again, I think we can get maybe more cars and probably just close First Street and line up on First Street. Evidently, if you make a flyer that simply states that you're gonna have a car show, everybody with a classic car takes it as an invitation to show up. And not necessarily with call in ahead of time. So that was something that we learned.
Lessons learned.
Lessons learned,
Put
yeah.
on their call, and figured out just
AP. Well,
James said 18 cars, Jen, 18 cars.
I mean, the way it worked was we reached out to a local car club and they agreed to come, and then Jen made the flyer, and a week later, there was a couple representatives of another club who asked, can we come? Between the two clubs, it amounted to 16 to 18 cars, and we had just enough room to put them on the lawn, and that was great. But the night of, like I said, evidently, if you make a flyer, then it's an invitation.
Yeah.
And there were like 36 cars out there. It's a little frantic for a little while, but it worked out, and everybody, it was nice, it was really nice. Awesome.
Another comment I would like to make is that part of that thing I talked about, the staff time, is with the increased attendance, I notice when I'm out walking the morning after, how much damage is done to the lawn and the area, so that's gotta be taking more staff time for cleaning up than you used to do. I mean, it just looks
Well-
really wrecked after that many people
Yeah.
enjoy the park, and that's
Yeah.
what it's for.
Right.
But,
Not so much damage, but there is a lot of trash and just a lot of clean. There's a lot of setup. The guys do all the setup as part of their routine on Wednesday. Clean the park, set everything up, and then, you know, part of the deal is the routine on Thursday is simply to clean it all up. So, yeah. But,
Keep up the good work.
yeah, thank you.
I have just a question.
Yeah.
For the Christmas parade and the vendors, are we gonna have something in the Memorial Hall then with vendors and?
We're working on it, yes.
Okay, because I was just thinking, because Twist used to do the cookie, decorating, yes. And so if you want us to do that, we just need to be prepared so we can get our volunteers.
there's only 6 of us.
There is, well, no, there's 7. There's 7, we have 7 board members.
I'll talk with you about
Yes,
some stuff
okay.
that's kind of involved today. This one.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank
But
you.
it'd be great to have them.
Yeah, we have all the stuff, you know, to do it, so thank you.
Okay.
Second Friday in December.
Second party.
That's when it always is hurricanes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we had that, what do
There
we
was
have?
one particular year
Yeah.
that wasn't.
Yeah.
Say weekend is 200 or something, if I remember right.
All right. Anything else from the board? Moving on, financial. Just get the computer.
No, I do, I have to open it, you know. There's really nothing more to tell them what's already in there, except for that we've taken in $27,000 in donations and funds raised towards our project, so it's pretty exciting.
I think I found like one typo in that letter, number 6, it says like my hour. So that'd be just the one thing. I don't know if we're supposed to sign this or what it's supposed to be. That was just one little.
What letter are you talking about?
Oh, the one that Hawks and Associates.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's already gone.
yeah, that's there, all I had to
Oh.
do was, add it to our letterhead. That's-
Okay. That's there.
There's, that's there.
Oh. Well, maybe tell them my hour doesn't sound right.
Where was it, Jane?
Number 6 on there. Be acknowledged and have fulfilled my hour responsibility for designing.
Okay.
So I don't know what that's supposed to be. Is that Hawks that's supposed to say that, or our, I'm assuming it's TPRDs, right? Or should there be a slash?
Yeah,
A slash.
it changes substantially if there is a problem with these responsibilities.
That was a big thing.
All right. Anything else on financial?
So we do actually, excuse me, Ellen? We do actually need to create a warrant for,
Trying to deal with, here, I can hold it if you.
for I think it's $33,000.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
And then my question, I know we started to move on, but does this have to be signed tonight? Or was it already signed and
They
sent?
cannot, so the draft that you have behind it cannot become a final document until you sign it.
Okay, so maybe that change then would be important because it changes it from our responsibility. Oh, wait, no, it would, okay, never mind.
It should be our responsibility.
Okay, yes.
I think, I don't know.
Yeah, because it's referring to the board.
The board,
So one of these or
TPRDs.
yeah.
one of these is get signed. Is that correct?
Just one letter needs to be signed.
It goes- So it's like a government.
Yes. So if you're not just
Um,
sign it
Tonight.
because you want it to say power responsibility.
Maybe you just put a slash and initial it on.
Just circle it or something good.
or, I mean, flavor of the board here. I can straight line through my lead or initial line.
Sounds approved.
Switch to blue.
And who else is signing? Just 2 board members?
And
Six.
Treasurer, maybe, or vice president. She'll sign it.
Oh, wait, President Trimmer.
maybe
Or Gretchen. Are you the treasurer? Secretary, so I think Aaron's the treasurer. State.
Today's 13, 23. Aaron. That was the back one on the back page. And Jane. Assignment. The additional one.
Yes, I mean, so officially, I guess I would like to request that we need to go into the general fund via a warrant for the outdoor theater. The amount of 33.
33,000.
93561 sound familiar?
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to,
Yes, what that if you want, that's the letter and
Oh,
and then the warrants behind it with all of that documentation.
we do have to make a motion, right?
no, I don't think so.
No.
That's 10,000 each payment.
So the top letter is just the updated letter saying that it's been 10,000 this month. For 6 months, that's $200,000 without prior.
And we added this EXT for,
CXT, that's warrants for the remainder of the closing balance.
oh, okay, so this is separate, that doesn't have to do with James's.
No, but I have to.
Okay, understood. James isn't signing for that CXT, that's understood, thank you.
All right. Anything else on financial?
No, thanks for the overview.
Yeah.
So I greatly appreciate it. Like being able to see all that, the general fund, so this, I know it takes time, so thank you.
All right. Anything else under reports? Miss anything? Moving on to agenda items. 8.1, consideration to adopt resolution 23002 to rescind resolution 2020-01, joint resolution of the TCSD and TPRD reorganization into Tuolumne CSD discussion and action. So, Aaron, you have this one, you wanna?
I attached a letter, with all my points and provided to the board. So I would move at this time to, I motion to adopt resolution 2023-002.
Any board discussion? Before we go to public comment?
We have the motion on the table, somebody seconds, and I need to do more
All
discussion.
right, do we have a second for the motion? Okay. Marty seconds. Do we have any board discussion?
Yeah,
Yes, I do. You wanna go ahead?
yeah, I obviously disagree. I don't think we should be adopting this resolution. I kind of read through Aaron's letter. I actually do, think that I agree with Aaron. I do a bit on different grounds, but I do think that this does warrant a grand jury investigation one way or the other. And I find it kind of low and kind of slanderous based on what Aaron said about me. I've always been open to listen to anybody, and I don't think I've ever, I think meetings get heated and people have passion, but, I think I've always tried to listen. And I've had conversations with you, Aaron, where I thought we had good conversations. So for you to say that about me, it hurts, right? I don't think that was right of you to say that.
Specifically, what are you referring to?
You find many conflicts of interest, the main one being that the board presidents at the time are related, and the conduct of said party has a long history of harassing past and present board members opposed to their agenda, while seating vacancies with more persons with conflicts of interest in their favor. That to me is wrong. You approved and voted to approve those board members who were appointed. So that to me is, you talked about in a previous meeting that you wanted to get past this, and you thought that this was bringing hardships and ruining the way that we do business here. That's what it does. That's not right. Further on the grand jury investigation, yeah, I think it is. I think there's been things done that weren't done correctly. We talked multiple board meetings in regards to our latest community meeting regarding the CSD, and it's just come to light. Talked to people who've been talking. One of the students that was part of that, we had this discussion, and it was told during the board meeting that those 3 questions that were started out weren't given to the board, or to that staff did not give those questions. That student said that they were given to him by TPRD. That was said. That's just one example. I think board members on the board, their responsibility as a board member is to listen to everybody, whether it be somebody they disagree with or not agree with. And I know, seen it in an email chain where that was not done. Somebody specifically asked to request a meeting with a board member, and that board member did not meet with that person. I find that not serving to their office. Be it if you agree with them or not, or maybe you don't like their tone, whatever, that's your responsibility as a board member to do that. And I think that's about all I want to say.
Gretchen?
I'd like to say a couple of things. First of all, I've always supported the staff here. I respect you all. I'm gonna get emotional, and this upsets me because I am a fact-based and logical person, and I rarely get emotional. But I have worked with James for decades. I started way back when he started here. We worked together. I love everything you do here. You do amazing work. There is no threat to your jobs. The CSD would not do anything but give you opportunities for better pay and better benefits, which I believe, knowing that if we formed a CSD, 4 of the 5 members sitting here would be on that first 7-person board. These 2 could not be. So it wouldn't be the Ferrianis taking over, as has been expressed and threatened in the different meetings and stuff. There has been slander against Jake, saying that Jake wanted to be the head of the new CSD, and that's why he voted for it, which is ridiculous because he has such a great job, and he does all of this stuff for no stipends. We're the only boards here that do not take stipends, that do not have a financial interest. We have community interest at heart. So I try to make all of my decisions based on fact. And that's why I ask all the questions. And when I ask questions of you staff members, I am not asking for criticism. I'm asking because I don't remember, I don't understand, and I haven't been involved for years. Okay, it's only been this last 2 years I've been on the board that I've had everything read. I was upset recently to find out about some embezzlement that happened. I didn't even know that because I was so busy at my job. There was embezzlement here way back when. And then I also learned that in 2011, there were other things going on. So both LAFCO and the grand jury recommended that Tuolumne districts be consolidated into a CSD as Twain Harte and Groveland had done because of all the benefits that come to a CSD that do not come to individual districts, okay? So over there at the sanitary district, we've got Dave, who has been doing amazing things in the amount of millions of dollars of grant because of his knowledge. The way I look at a CSD and the advantages to a CSD, because I have heard very few disadvantages mentioned to a CSD other than the status quo is great, don't mess with what's not broken. Okay, that's not the way board members are meant to behave. Board members have to be forward thinking. Board members have to ask the hard questions about the finances and pay attention. And that's what we do here. But what I see the CSD as and the big advantage is that it would complement, okay? They have Dave over there who does a certain type of job that's nothing to do with what James does. James does his job, he does an amazing job, he would continue to do his job until he felt like retiring. Same thing with Kelly. Kelly's doing a great job here on the finances. The lady over there that handles what they do, she does different things. She wouldn't come in to be your boss. Dave wouldn't be coming in to be James's boss. This would be a really nice cooperative relationship where you have more staff, better opportunities, and more professionalism where we need it, okay? That's not a criticism. I felt bad when I first got back on the board and I was rude when I said, James, you don't know how to use an Excel sheet? Well, that was rude, but it's something that is the type of thing that most general managers of organizations like this know how to do. Thank God, right after that rudeness that I did toward James, Kelly came on board. So Kelly's doing that job. James is doing different jobs. We have to look forward. The money that they have saved and made from our own taxes, our federal taxes and state taxes, through good stewardship, should be unlocked and come to this organization. That's why I'm for it. Not because I think anybody here is doing bad or wrong things, but something that was done that is completely wrong. And the reason that I am welcoming a grand jury investigation is that, Aaron, you went to an official meeting of LAFCO. At a board meeting, you said things that I believe are untrue, but that's okay. You can say anything you want to in this meeting and any other meeting. But when you take information that is false and you submit it, as you submitted this petition has 97 people out of 560 that do not live in this district, okay? Maybe they have an opinion, that's great. But you, on the record, you said this was 560 registered voters of the 600 registered voters in this district. In this district, Tuolumne Park and Rec District, there are 2,667 people. Many of them have expressed support of the CSD. This petition, which meets the state code for election code violations exactly, has children's names on it. It has a dead person's name on it. It has this first page that I double checked against this is what I care about. I care about fact, okay? This is the 2,600 members. I had to pay for this and I had to sign that I would not share this information or misuse it. The very first page I checked, all these red dots here, most of these signatures are not registered voters, the ones that they said they live here. Aaron presented this with names written, all in a family, but one person. This is like fraud. This is actually fraud. And he submitted it as registered voters in this district. That's the kind of thing that I believe is a problem. So you as a citizen have a right to do anything that you want, but I really have been upset by the misinformation and the fear mongering that has happened around this issue, that we all want the best for this agency. And so that is why I'm asking you personally to vote yes for it. There's gonna be 90-day public comment. People can come and comment to LAFCO if they want. If you really wanna know the actual facts around this, you can go to LAFCO meetings, you can watch LAFCO meetings, you can listen to the recordings and hear what's really happened at these meetings. And we voted, the actual elected board members at the time that this all happened were on Zoom meetings, and the people that you all elected or got appointed made good decisions. And at the time, Aaron was the only one against. And then all this fear mongering and stuff has been ginned up, and I'm unhappy about it, and I just wish you would understand, board members here, that you will have the control of this new district. That would be a big improvement for this community. Thank you.
And I was at that meeting, and the LAFCO meeting that you're referring to, I do not recall Aaron saying that those were registered voters. He referenced, actually, I believe at the end, that they weren't all registered voters, that this was an opinion.
I
So-
listened to it, and the LAFCO staff is going over it. They're gonna address it too. But I listened to it again, and he said 560 of the 600 registered voters. So that's all I have to say, but thanks for listening.
Okay. Any other board comment?
I might have something that comes back from the public.
Yeah. Since I don't know, Jake, if you were referring to me regarding your email that I didn't meet with somebody.
I didn't want to call out anybody.
If you want to throw me under the bus, I don't mind, but,
I'm not gonna throw anybody under the bus.
all right. No big deal then. We'll talk about it later. Okay, before I open this for public comment, please, can we be respectful and have some decorum? I know this is a hot button item and people are going to be passionate, we all understand that. But we want to hear your opinions if we can remain calm. Anything else from the board before I open it up? Okay, everyone have 5 minutes, so spin the dial. And who wants to go first?
I do.
Okay.
I'm the one that, I was advised to start this petition. And I've learned since that I should have called it a survey. And it was never meant to be a survey of registered voters. It was meant to be the voice of the people, be there minors, be them people that have moved out of the district and then intend to move back in. Whether there's people on here that have died, that's just a testimony on how long this has been going on. Danny Rohr is not dead. Whether or not, why he spelled his name wrong, I have no idea. If you know Danny Rohr, it could be any number of things. There's kids on here, this community is going to be their community. It's going to be their community. They have a right to have a voice. Just because they're minors doesn't mean they shouldn't have a voice. I urge you to reconsider this formation of this district. Listen to the voice of the people. When he presented this to that full board, there was 565 people, now there's 635. And it's growing all the time. Whether or not I put pinned to the paper more than once, I have. But that was Jerry Whitehead, you all know Jerry Whitehead. He asked if I had the petition, or the petition for him to sign. I said, no, I didn't have it on me. He asked me to sign his name for him. So if you want to call Jerry, his number is 209-928-6749. Call him and ask him. But as far as I'm concerned, people by and large are against this formation. Listen to the voice of the people. You're elected board. You're elected, you're obligated to listen to the voice of the people.
I
And
agree.
I urge you to do so.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I do have, can I just ask one thing
Yes.
about that? You know, so I did read the first part of that, right? And so, first part of your petition says, please sign this petition if you do not want our current Tuolumne Township Special Districts consolidated into one community service district. For more information, where's that? Oh, yeah, please visit the Tuolumne Parks and Rec, Tuolumne Sanitary, Tuolumne Fire Quarters. So to me, that kind of just infers in that petition, you know, that it's called petition, and the petition, that basically states, you know, that it infers that all of those districts would be consolidated, right?
Well,
Which
wasn't that the original idea, that all 5 districts come
the
together?
application to LAFCO was 4-3.
It was.
2 years ago.
I apologize for that.
But originally, when we were developing that, we were looking at everybody,
Yeah.
and then the application.
I think that's why all 5 districts were included in the wording.
Thank you. That's what I in the back, yes.
So, as referencing the petition statement opinion poll, I don't know, whatever, the signature line
Survey.
survey. I think, and connecting to Gretchen, the original recommendation was for consolidation, and I believe, if I'm not correct, forgive me, but I believe I recall it had to do with the possible failure of the independence of the fire department. That was why the recommendation was made with the LAFCO connection with the Tuolumne County. That was like way back in the year. Yeah, like way back. Yeah, and so that conversation's continued, and as those 5 members that are referenced, or 4 members that are referenced on that survey sheet have bowed out, and unfortunately, people have passed, as was one of the standing board members who voted in the 36-minute Zoom meeting that I found referenced on December 27th, where this was voted originally, the original agreement to be a part of that CSD. So, I don't know, if I, as a community member on the 27th of December, and I apologize, forgive me, but my mindset 2 days after Christmas is not coming to a special board meeting at 5 o'clock that only lasts 36 minutes, when most of the board meetings are at 6 o'clock on Monday, or I'm sorry, on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and last up to an hour. That seems odd to me. I understand that, and that's just from what my research has been looking back at the board meeting minutes. I don't know, I wasn't there. But making those connections, because I wasn't there, that's why I spent my due diligence into looking at notes and meetings, because I wasn't.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, John.
Okay, just want to bring up to stuff on the lighting district. The board of supervisors had a meeting yesterday, I guess it was, and staff recommended that the lighting district they were neutral, and that the lighting district could be absorbed to the Tuolumne Community Service District. They were gonna wait till the outcome of tonight to see what's happened here. But it was originally confused with the Rule 28, I don't know if any of you are aware, but they're gonna underground power in Tuolumne. It's an $8 to $10 million project. They're gonna underground the power, and there was some question about lighting. Our lighting district has $300,000 or $400,000 in it right now, that's managed by the board of supervisors, which we feel should be managed by the community, and the only way it can be done is through a CSD. Excuse
I
me.
have a question. I researched that, and it can be attached to any, so the lighting district could be attached to the sanitation or could be attached to the fire.
It has to be,
One at a time.
I'll correct you, that is incorrect information.
Okay,
It
that
has
was
to
the
be
LAFCO information.
Well,
Yep.
I'm a board member of LAFCO, and a CSD is the only way that two districts can exist. You can't have, you can tell if you want to have an idea of that.
Let's not have debates, let's just.
Anyway, so, yeah, sorry. So it can only go if there is a CSD, and then there's like $300,000-400,000 in that fund. The bill for the community is $275 to $300 a month. The county charges, they couldn't give me a number, which I thought was interesting, but I think they charge, so the whole bill per year is $3,400 and $3,500. And I think the county charges that much to administer, which would be something we can use in our community. Anyway, so that's moving forward and dependent on whether we move forward with the CSD. Everything else has been pretty much taken care of. They had issues at the beginning with all the latent powers, those have been removed. We have the 3 CSDs, 3 districts that would be merged, and so that was where that came out. There's always been concern about the general manager's cost, and as I mentioned before, and it's obvious that the general manager fees or costs would be part-time, maybe a little bit more as everything gets started, but as time goes by, then the general manager would be, hours would be reduced to maybe 10 to 12 hours a week, and would be nowhere near the fear-mongering $180,000, $200,000 fee that everybody's been mentioning. There's been a lot of misinformation. It's sad. I have one thing it motivates me as a community, and I really want to see it not go on as it has in the past. There has been tremendous amount of money squandered, and talk about meetings. There was a agreement with the tribe that was signed Tuesday at 10 o'clock in the morning with the old sanitary district. They gave the tribe an unbelievable deal on sewer. And since then, even gave them a voting number, which was illegal. It allowed them to tell us how their flows. They monitored our flows and told us how much they were sending our plant. We weren't allowed to go check it. There was crazy things that happened because of board members who weren't savvy to what was going on. They were friends. There's been, like Gretchen said, embezzlements of money. We really do need to come together as a community, get to one group, one meeting, get public participation. Great to see everybody here. We need that. I'd love to see more people at our sanitary district. I just really think this is a big mistake, and I really would encourage the swing vote here to vote for continuing with this. And like Gretchen says, 4 of the 5 board members here are going to be on it. I haven't found to correct you. I could still be on it, and Jake could still be on the board. And that's a possibility. And we have no financial gain at all. We don't even get a stipend. We put in a lot of time on this, and a very involved community. Just would really encourage this board to continue to participate in the consolidation of the Tuolumne City Sanitary District. I mean, Tuolumne Community Service District.
All right. Yes, sir.
I have one thing to say that had nothing to do with this special district. What I have seen in this town and since COVID is the complete commercial district downtown facing the park has been turned into a bedroom community. Why is that being allowed? Why is our commercial district being taken over by residential, by turning it into residential?
Private property owners have the right to do their business.
Yeah, I know, but the deal is, it says commercial, residential, in other words, you have the business in front and your resident in the back. Instead, the whole building is residential. No businesses are being put into this town.
I agree with you, I just,
You know, I think
I
that's,
don't think we have any purview over what business is commercial or approval residential. So that is a great
Yeah, I know,
question.
that goes back,
You know,
that goes back to the county and the planning commission back there.
To your point, though, since we're on this topic of the CSD, with a consolidated district, that gives you more clout with the county and being able to push those items, in my opinion.
You know, in my opinion too, is that we, the people, are supposed to be the government, not the government being people.
I agree, especially since you're talking about that. The lighting district is ran by the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors. We want that power in our town. Right now, that's it with the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors. That's with multiple people.
We can talk about that when our session is back and forth.
Right.
Sorry.
It's all right, just wanted to remind everybody. Anyone else, public comment? Yes, Tony?
Okay. Promise I won't get emotional. I won't have my hands flying all over the place.
Good luck with that.
Ever-
I'll count on you.
Okay, I had this all in my mind, but what John just said about, that a lot of people want this. I just heard this last week, that this has been going on for 20 years. Okay, so I got involved with 17 after my husband died because he never wanted to go to a meeting. So I came to the meeting. So since 17, every 2 years, we've had a meeting with the community, right? And from what I saw, the majority of the community said no. So my question is, if this has been going on for 20 years, why has it never come to this vote that we're having tonight? And, what was the other thought? That, and the fire district and the cemetery district are out, so it's just down to us two. So when you compare it to Groveland and Twainhart, does not compare, because all of their districts are involved in that, right? Are they not? I mean,
I'm not supposed to answer a question.
not at
You have
the
to direct it
beginning.
to the board. Thank
no,
you.
you were saying that because they've done, or maybe you said, Catherine, that, they've done a great job. But all their districts are involved. We're already losing two of the main districts in the town. So my question is, so I've been to these meetings, these community meetings, I've seen, yes, people who are for this, but I've seen the majority who are not for this. My question is, it never got to this point.
There have been votes. 30 days.
It was?
We're not supposed to go back during.
I mean, it's been going for 20 years. Why is it taking this long? So I would say the majority of this town does not want this, and it's just coming through. I know boards have changed, so I mean, I guess those people on the boards have changed. But I said, I've been a resident nearly 20 years here, owned property for 30 years, husband born and raised here. And Harvey always said, nobody comes to, Tuolumne's the end of the road and nobody comes here. That is such a false statement today. I go through town, I have to go through town. It's constantly busy, and it's busy because of how beautiful downtown is and how well everything is kept up and used. And I mean, from the hall to that beautiful playground that I helped build and do things with. I mean, this town has grown with community. And it's all about community. We live in a very decisive time right now, but I see community coming into this town. I don't hear any arguments. I don't see any fights. I mean, I think that's what's lovely about this, and I don't see why it has to change. I think they're doing a great job. I don't know about the money end of it, but we'll raise money. This community will raise money if you have to do it. And I don't know, I was against it the first meeting I went to. I'm still against it. I just hope you guys think about that. Everything's running fine. And if we don't have the other two districts, what's the point? What is the point? It's not comparable to the other two, which had a lot of hiccups before they got together too. So it wasn't like a great setup for either one of them. So just asking, how come it's taken so long to get here? Okay, that's all.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Shelley Davis King.
Oh, I was Tony Wagner, by the way, sorry.
And my husband, John Lytle, and I have lived in the community for more than 40 years. We technically don't get to be considered part of your district, but we have a 928 number, and we live off of Yosemite Road, and we've been actively involved in the community. Our ashes will go into Carter's. I'm on the museum board, and we have even diverted our retirement funds this year in a rather large contribution towards the park district, because we believe with all of our heart in the specialness of this place. And the specialness of this place is created by this park district, in our opinion. We drive through town late at night, and those lights that are hanging around the green lawn and the gazebo are something that give you a sense of home and community. The number of times I talk to firefighters throughout the state, and I travel to do nationwide lobbying and heritage preservation work. And I've talked to firefighters from all over who say, do you live in that town with that little white gazebo? That community came to us. That community took care of us. Those people, they even mentioned the park district. It's really a strong commitment to how people felt about the area. There's been a maintenance of the grounds that I see no place else in any of our communities. I talk to people who are at GCSD and at Tweenhart about the problems within their districts, and they all had a number of problems, not only during the formation, but actually in the implementation, partly because they didn't agree. Am I getting close to
You're good.
Not at all.
Get through now, so it looks like.
I was gonna say, that doesn't sound like much for me. They all had problems, and they have a bigger kind of commitment to a number of districts. With the cemetery district out now, we're really coming down to a couple of districts, 3 maybe, if the lighting gets included. And so it doesn't make as much sense to us. We feel that the ballpark, as a ballpark, is perhaps the best ballpark we have ever seen. And part of this comes back to James and his staff and the way everyone has done what they have done. We are so fortunate in our community to have him be our guide, our leader in all of this. And while you can talk very much about how this would continue potentially with a new community service district, it's this kind of human being and the kinds of staff members that have come together here that really makes our place special. It maintains its historic district feel. You've got this behind you that looks at what we were for the Tuolumne part of our community. We've also got the Carter's part, and we've got the Somerville part, and each one of those parts has something very special that is a part of what we all do. And I would say that I have met not one person who is yet ready to say it's time for us to form this district. I'm not saying there isn't a possibility for it. I've just not seen anybody that's interested in it as of yet. And I think that there's no reason to go through a rush on this. I think we have an opportunity to reach out to our community, to find out what the values are for our community. When we see the 90-year-old people dancing in the park with the dogs and the kids on the grass that the park district has taken care of watering in the morning, so in the afternoon when we're there, we don't have hot, wet grass to be on. All of that is recognized by our community, and it is about community and what we feel. So thank you very much for the opportunity to address you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other public comment? Oh, one back first.
I'm Janine Roberts, and I am fairly new to this community. I've been here, I've been here 5 years. I've raised as a single mom 2 boys here, graduated from Somerville, and I had with gratitude, was able to work here at TPRD. I'm not a numbers person, so excuse me for that. I'm a words person. That's why I had to resign my position. I'm just not an accounting person. Kelly's doing a terrific job. I am working in grants and I do program development, and my primary interest in this will probably be for a later date, but I wanted to bring it up in regards to CSD versus TPRD or versus different districts, is I'm interested in applying for the USDA Small Business Rural Development Grant for this area because I want to see our businesses thrive again and our agribusiness thrive again. And what I did find in my time here, my tenure here, in going through the records back to the inception, is there has been some part of TPRD that has been somewhat like a quasi-chamber of commerce or an economic development portion of it. And I would like to see that develop either in a CSD or in TPRD as separate entities, because we really need to bring the economy back here.
Yes.
My family goes back generations in Kansas, farmers, and we need to have not only small business downtown, but our small businesses thrive here, our construction businesses. And in my personal opinion, we also need to work with the tribe in doing that and developing this area and sharing this land.
Great, thank you. Go for it.
And stand up because I feel weird not having all these people behind me that I can't see. I do want to make it clear that TPRD's services and projects will not go away. The park will not go away. The ball fields will not go away. None of what TPRD does will go away with the formation of a CSD. What will happen is that there will be more funds available to make it even better, to even provide more for our community. I want to thank Kelly for paraphrasing my words from the last meeting in her letter. It's nice to know someone was listening. I agree with her about the community center, but I'm worried about how it will be paid for and how the remodel will be paid for, because our community deserves to have it done right. Where are these funds coming from for all these projects? We need to look at opportunities. All of us need to look for opportunities for all the districts in Tuolumne. That is the key word that each board member should be thinking about. How many projects are in progress right now, and how many of them are fully funded? I don't believe any project in progress right now is fully funded. Once again, to the board. Part of a board member's responsibility is to plan for the future, and not just thinking about today or what even this year looks like, if it looks good or not. The board needs to plan with staff and others and ask themselves, what's new? What's next? What do we want our future to look like? What do we want our town to look like? Who or what is the future of our industry? These questions should be perpetually on your mind. These questions should be answered with the budget in mind. What is our budget? How reliable is the money coming in for our budget? Relying on the adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, is short-sighted. You should be asking yourselves instead, what if we could do more? What if we could achieve more? What if we could dream bigger? Isn't that what we should be doing instead of relying on the status quo and hoping for the best? And how do we do this? I believe by forming a CSD so that we have access to fund our dreams and create a future that is stable and bright for future generations. This has nothing to do with staff or board members. All are here because they believe in our town and they want the best for it. Staff does an amazing job with what they have. But don't they deserve to have the resources to fully fund their dreams and plans and projects? So I leave you once again with this quote. Happiness is amazing. It's so amazing that it doesn't matter if it's yours or not. It's a lovely thing. A society grows great when old men plant trees, the shade of which they know they will never sit in. Good people do things for other people. That's it. That's the end. Please consider carefully how we can achieve the best and brightest future for our town. Future generations are counting on you, and you will be judged on your foresight or lack thereof. Thank you.
Anything else? Yes, sir.
My name's Dave Guzman, my wife Carrie Guzman. We've lived in Tuolumne for around 25 years or more. And my wife has a business here. I'm very much in favor of the CSD. I want to see the future of our small town grow, and our grandchildren, as they grow up, have, a better community. Not saying it's not good, we can do better. We can do better. We gotta look into the future and there's problems in everything. There's problems in every sort, if it's a CSD, there's issues, if the Tuolumne Park, there's issues that they've had. We all have issues, it's how we work through the issues. This is what I believe in. I believe in facts like Gretchen says. I mean, it's right there. We have grant money that's available to us to be able to make this place better than what it already is. It's great now, but we can take it to the next level. And that's the way I look at things. I mean, you can have a public comments like this ballot thing went out where people signed, but I don't know how much education they had about the CSD. Because I've been to a lot of the meetings and I've talked to a lot of people, and there's people that are in favor of this as well as against it. But I think the people that are against it, just majority of them just don't want to see anything grow and change. Change is hard, but change is good. Thank you.
Yep. Any further public comment? No? All right. Coming back to the board. Board discussion.
I'd like just to make a couple of quick comments. Change is hard, it's uncomfortable. I was involved in 25 years ago, actually, when we first had our first meeting upstairs over there in the hall about consolidating. We were excited at that time to do it because we were learning from the mistakes that Twainhart and Groveland made. And of course, there's ups and downs and everything, and people have chosen on the cemetery board and the fire board to opt out. And that is completely their right to do so. But it was well over 2.5 years ago that to address the votes. And why didn't it come to a vote? It has come to votes in public meetings, and the votes have been to carry forward. So I just wanted to clarify that. The other thing is, the one thing that I'm afraid about, and the reason I want to unlock this money there from the sanitary district and combine it with us, and I'm sorry to just keep bringing it back to money, but that's our job here as the board. Our budget here for 23-24 is $356,000. If we were to lose the county contract, if the county were to decide, instead of having us maintain that new resiliency center, but to go ahead and have their own people maintain this hall and the resiliency center, which is an actual possibility, we would be losing $119,000 of the money we have coming in. And then over here on this incompleted project here of the outdoor theater, which, thank you, James, I'm glad it's moving ahead, and that, there's progress on it. But in our budget here, part of the income is listed as $25,000 from community support and crowdfunding, and there is another $25,000 listed as fundraisers. This community is extremely generous, but $50,000 in the next 6 months or so that was gonna take, that we need to finish this, I don't believe that is gonna happen realistically. So again, it comes back to the numbers and the money. And I'd just love to see that money come here and for us all to be part of this new difficult change process, I'd just love to see that because people are interested and people are coming and paying attention more. Like John said, it's so much easier to come to one meeting a month or watch one on Zoom than it is to try to go to the different districts and pay attention to what's going on and be involved. Thank you all for coming, expressing your opinions.
Any further board comments, discussion, question?
I'll speak again here. As has been said by pretty much everybody, right? Tuolumne is a community And in the end, that's really what matters, right? Is us coming together as one. And that's what CSD is. It's us coming together as a community to better our town, better fund our parks. Nobody's ever said that park staff has ever been bad at maintaining our parks. Everybody's always given compliments. I've given compliments. Everybody compliments how well our parks are maintained. So I don't think, when people say, well, it's great that, it's gonna go downhill from that. I don't see how that would happen, right? We have, the people here to do that work, and as time goes on, one day James is gonna be gone, right? He's gonna retire. And who's gonna fill those shoes? Who's gonna take care of it? He has so much knowledge in his head, right? If we could focus him on passing that knowledge along instead of running things, where you have an overall general manager who knows how to go after this huge funding. We're doing a great job at it now. We're really making strides. But there's millions of dollars that we could be getting as well, right? Where people that know where those resources are, instead of learning where they are, it's beneficial at this time. Kind of back to your comment, Tony, there, unfortunately, things took time. Like Gretchen said, we adopted that resolution. I mean, that's what this agenda item is, right? It's to adopt a resolution, to rescind a resolution from 2020, right? So this was voted on and approved 4-1. And with time and an application to LAFCO and the LAFCO staff not being their first time processing a CSD, it took a lot longer than it should have. So that's one of the reasons why it hasn't been drug out. I'm 30-something years old now, 32. But, so I was very young when all that kind of stuff happened, in the beginning. And then kind of every district has problems. Do I say, hey, we're gonna jump into this CSD's gonna be perfect? No, there's gonna be struggles. There will be, just like any place. We all find in anything we do there are struggles, right? But it's how we come out of those. That's what makes us a stronger community. And I ask you guys that are saying everything's running great, why would we want to change, right? What do you think we could do with more potential, with more, clout with the county, with more funding, that's available with unallocated tax funds? I would sure like my tax funds that I'm paying to the sewer district to go to the Tuolumne Parks and Rec. I'll tell you that much right now, right? And if anybody disagrees, I don't think anybody would disagree with that, right? I would think that they say, yeah, there's unallocated money on there, let's get it, right? And the way we do that is through CSD. Gretchen hit on a point which made me think, during COVID, there's not much involvement with the community as of now with our board meetings, right? We're lucky to have 1 to 2 people per board meeting, if that, right? Historically, not just during COVID when quote unquote votes were being taken without notifying the public, right? That's incorrect. Everything was done properly. But we've always lacked community participation in our board meetings. There's a lot of decisions that get made at these board meetings regarding projects, regarding plans, right? That we want the community involved in those. My thought has always been coming as one consolidated district gives the community the opportunity to come to one meeting instead of having to try to go to 4 different meetings in town, right? I guarantee if you ask any board president of how many people come to their board meetings, there's not going to be very many. It's less than you can count on probably one hand, if that. So, kind of back to things that happened during COVID, right? We lost our county contract. Staff had to take reduction in time and pay. We don't want that to happen. If we had additional money from the sanitary district, we could have kept up those services. We luckily pulled together, James and staff and everybody put in a lot of extra work that probably, James, you didn't even charge for a lot of it, right? Here and there. We were able to get an intermittent, I don't know if I'm saying that word right, so anyways, interim, thank you, contract that allowed us to do a little bit of work, right? But, you know, us not owning the facilities, we were locked out of a bunch of stuff, so there wasn't a lot of work to do. So that's one thing that we have to think of is when we look at these budgets and our general fund balance, right? We have to take that into account as, you know, that county contract, yes, it's there, it's a 5-year contract, but guess what? After year 1 of negotiation, and we have it signed, the board said, the county said no.
Aren't we at the end, aren't we in the fifth?
And then we have another year, yeah, or something like that. But, you know, that's one thing is, as us board members, we have to look at is, you know, what if, the what if question, right? That's every 5 years it comes up for renegotiation. So all the public who's here who may not be aware of that county contract, that's a lot of our funds come from the county to maintain the facilities they own. We don't own Whitehead Field, we don't own the gazebo, the park, we don't own the Memorial Hall, you know. There's a lot of stuff that that's not Tuolumne Parks and Recreation District, we maintain, and we do a damn good job. So, you know, we want to be able to support our staff and give them jobs and let them provide for their family. We want to keep them because they're great. The way that I look at it is, it's helping us. Consolidation would help us ensure that staff can continue and ensure that we can continue as a community and grow. And I'll leave it at that.
And one final quick thing, sorry, my husband brought something up. This is the emotional part. He said, what if something happens to James? Right now, if something happened to James, there is no one here that knows what he does and can do what he does. Kelly's new, she's doing a great job, Jen's doing a great job, and those 2 maintenance guys are great at the maintenance. There is nobody that could step in here in this community and do what James does. And that's part of the reason I wanted to say, we need that other guy over there, Dave or whoever it would be, as a CSD, to be at that level of learning and absorbing and taking whatever James could give before he chooses to retire, or in case something happens to him, because I don't want anything to happen to him, but planning for the future is important. And it was my husband's comment, well, you know, well, who would it be? I'm like, there isn't somebody. There just isn't. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other board comment? Marty, good on that?
I'll just make a few comments. You know, tonight I've heard a lot of the word fear mongering. I'd like to point out that there's a lot of difference in opinions. Like just talking about James, to me, I could sit here and go, that's fear mongering. Anything can happen to any of us. I've been taking notes, and I take notes every board meeting I've ever been to. Anybody makes comments, as you guys, every one of you were talking about, taking shorthand notes. I've been doing that as a board member. I'd like to listen to everybody and the other side. Me and Jake had a good conversation. Some things maybe I misquote sometimes. Sometimes I get things wrong. I'm definitely not perfect. Just to finalize my opinion of all this is that numbers look good, and I do think CSD numbers will look good. But at the end of the day, it's what the people want, and the heartbeat of the community, and all the conversations I've had. I think there might be a place in the future for a CSD, possibly, but I just don't think it's now. I don't think the public's ready. And I've heard it said many times from the other side that people against the CSD are not educated for that many times. I just don't find that to be a right comment to be making. It's kind of like calling the other side dumb or stupid. I don't think the other side's stupid. I think they have some valid points. I think CSD could be beneficial in some things. And my side saying, we don't want it, we're not ready for it. And as a representative of the public, I feel my best decision is to be against the CSD because that's what I'm hearing from the public louder for it. And that's my comment.
Mark, you got anything? No, okay. So you brought up the word fear mongering, and some of the conversations I had today might be able to put some of those to rest. I did talk to Tracy Riggs today because I wanted to get some clarification on the 20A credits that came up, the question that came up at the Board of Supervisors meeting yesterday. Just kind of wanted to know the background because the first meeting we had with PG&E said something, and then Friday, the county got an email stating something different, that the CSD or the agency could use those 28 credits to underground, and it wouldn't cause a huge change in anything. I also asked her straight up about the county contract that we have currently at the hall, and the county is not looking at cutting any contracts as it sits today. Okay, I'm speaking just specifically to the hall contract. So I also have attended the meetings since they started, the initial meetings that with the CSD that was supposed to be all 5 agencies. I also remember I worked fire long enough in this community to remember that when the fire engines in Groveland and Twinehart used to have to drive down and lock up the bathrooms of the park. And I understand why that happened. I don't know that that's the most appropriate use of resources. Again, I agree with Aaron on the fact that when we talk about referring to people that are against this having a lack of education, I've written grants, I submitted an application to LAFCO for consolidation. I feel like I've educated myself pretty well. I'm not pro or anti-CSD. If I was, the meeting that I was appointed in December, if I was so anti-CSD, I would have voted it down today. Instead, I took the time to educate myself. I have a few issues. One is the fact that it's not all 5 agencies. It would be an easier pill for me to swallow if it was all 5 agencies. It's, to me, and again, I'm just speaking for Mark Ferreira, that is a concern. One of the other concerns is we've been co-applicants from the onset as I see it. And there's correspondence that flies around that we don't see. There's things that we don't see that regarding communications related to the CSD. And that's an issue too. If we're gonna be transparent and above board and we're co-applicants, then we need to be treated as such. My concern with the PG&E answer that we got the first time, which changed to the second time, what happens when that changes the third time? Would we then be on the hook for the financial responsibility of undergrounding those PG&E lines? Because originally that's what they said, right?
No,
That's
not what I remember, not from PG, sorry to interrupt.
But as I recall it, we would have, so you're right, it wasn't a total financial responsibility, it was the share of cost that we would be responsible for. So that's a concern for me with PG&E, because you never know, next year they can get a new CEO in there and all of a sudden the A20 credit program changes. Hopefully it just moves forward and they get those things underground so that we quit losing our power. There were 2 things said yesterday at the Board of Supervisors meeting that really stuck with me. One of which was that by creating a whole new branch of government, that's giving smaller localized, it's making smaller localized government. And I think what we're doing here is the 5 of us, is the lowest level, smallest local control that we could possibly have. I've heard a lot about grand jury recommendations, and I wholeheartedly agree that we should be following some of those grand jury recommendations, but how many multiple studies have we heard about fire needing to be changed? It's not sustainable with the way that it's delivered in Tuolumne County, and for the 8 years that I was involved here in the county, nothing changed. So, the grand juries are great. I wish that they would follow all the recommendations, but that would mean that every 2 years we're changing everything. The other thing that was said yesterday was that the board members need to act on behalf of their community. The community that has reached out to me, the meetings that I've sat through and listened to, are upset at how the CST came to be and are resounding no. The phone calls I get, the emails I get, the conversations I have in parking lots, the resounding conversations I have is against the CST. So, those are my comments. I hope that none of us that sit up here are judged for anything that we do. Again, we were elected by the 2,667, right? And the vast majority of conversations I've had for the last 8 months of trying to educate myself says that there's no reason that we need to create a whole new branch of government to do business as we do. We just had, for the first time in I don't know how long, if ever, we had a surplus of money at the end of the year. I have huge concerns that, yes, it's great that sanitation has all this money. I think they're doing a great job with their grants. It seems like the money's rolling in as far as grants, and that's great until it's not. I don't think it financially responsible of this board, if we're having conversations about a $350,000 building that creates concern, that we should be taking on multi-million-dollar loan debt, even at 2%, because that 2% is still money that is interest that is paid for by ratepayers. So, I don't disagree with the CSD. I would like to see if a CSD moving forward would be all agencies and all entities involved. I think that gives you the most clout. Because my concern would be catastrophic failure. Again, this is my fire background speaking, where we plan for the worst and hope for the best. But if sanitation has a catastrophic failure, that reserve fund, I would assume, I don't know much about sewer plants, but I would assume, just looking at the costs that TUD's had for their new upgrade, that reserve fund would be depleted in a rapid fashion. So, those are my 3 cents, I guess. So with that,
Can I just say one more thing?
sure.
Just since you brought up the education thing, if it came across that with anybody that says that, right, I don't think that it was ever meant to call people dumb. I think it was meant that they weren't given all the information. And I think that's what they mean, what someone would mean by education.
Okay.
Just both of you said it, so if it did come across as that, when people state that, I don't think that was their intent. Can't speak for everybody. But if I ever said it, my intent wasn't to call anybody dumb, because you could ask anybody I work with. I've never docked anybody for not being a certain way, right? I actually rely on those people to make things better, right? So I just wanted to clarify that for the minutes.
And I'd also like to say that when I say that same thing, by looking at facts, I think that people have not seen all the facts and understood all the dates and everything, like you mentioned, Tony, that you didn't think there were votes and things. So that's what I meant by, I didn't ever say aren't educated or dumb, and I don't think people are. I appreciate everybody here giving their time to this unpaid job here. And what I meant was the facts versus the emotion. That's what I meant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Go ahead, Marty.
so, this is Marjorie. So I went down and talked to Debbie Batista Monday. And she says, yes, you can have a special election, but the best way to go about this is to get it on the 24 vote. And I believe the township should have a vote either way.
I agree.
First of all, we need to have a petition done and then present it to them, and then pay X amount of dollars, and let the citizen of Tuolumne, the citizenship, vote whether we want it or not. It's like, why has this been going on for 20 years? Let's end it. let's end it, because, you know, I get tired of coming in here, spending an hour talking about this, you know? Everybody's crying about it, everybody's, you know, happy for it, not happy, you know? So,
And just to dovetail onto what you said about the special election, that is another question that I asked Ms. Riggs, who got with Ms. Batista and got back to me that a special election, depending, would cost anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000.
she told me 5 to 6.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go, look at that.
To put it on in 24.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
To vote.
Any further board discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to ask if you really wanted to go to a vote, which I think would be really great, because that would give us an opportunity to get more input from the community and to, you know, have the opportunity for people who haven't spoken up, even though they have spoken to me and other people that they're for it. So that is not very much money to get it to a vote. But if you vote tonight to, take us out of it, then we've wasted all the money and time we've already spent in this process that was voted on by the actual elected board members. So I would like an election to happen, but if you vote right now to undo what we've already done, then why would we have an election? That would have stopped this process and this application would go away, as far as I understand. And we'd have to start over from fresh if people voted for the CSD. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying, but to me, it's like 20 years, you're doing the same thing. Every month, we talk about the same thing, you know? So to me, it's like, let's end this, let's put it on 24 election and be done with it. And then, let the voters say, hey, we want it, we don't want it.
But who would do that if you voted to take us up? I mean, who would actually pay that money and do that election and let it happen?
Well, be honest with you, if it's half of, $3,000, I'll pay. No big deal.
I'd like to see it be an election.
And I'm not sure what the process is to get it to an election.
Getting it to an election should have been the first thing in this whole entire process. And that's one of my complaints. And what I was told in the past of discussing that we couldn't go to an election because of our boundaries being different.
That's what I understood.
That's the way I understood it.
That's what you told me.
But now we get different conflicting information from Batista, knowing we could do it. But that first information came from, I believe, her in the first place.
I'm just referring to the cost of a special election. Not that she said we could do a special election, just specifically generic special election costs. What they quoted me was $8,000 to $10,000. So.
Just one more thing too, right? So it wasn't too long ago, I can't remember, was it this, I cannot remember, but we approved, so there was the original resolution which, basically started the application, and then there recently, in the past year, I think it was in the last year, we had the tax sharing agreement that we submitted to the county. So basically, the way that works is that LAFCO required us to have a tax sharing agreement between Tuolumne Parks and Recreation District, the City Sanitary District, and the Tuolumne Lighting District, which is the Board of Supervisors. And so, this Aaron actually said it too, a long time ago, and just recently brought this, right, was let's wait for that, see, if the county approves the tax sharing agreement with us, there were changes that had to be made, it would have to come back to this board prior to, to be voted on. So that's just one thing I want to let, I don't know if the board members remember that or not, but, if for some reason nobody, the motion is not adopted, there would still be an additional chance after the tax sharing agreement came back to the board for approval. So it wouldn't be the end of the road for that. I think it might be nice, before we end this, to wait for that instead of doing it tonight, because I think as people see the lighting district coming on and further information being put out there, that, and maybe more community involvement, hopefully, more coming to our meetings discussing these issues, would be great.
So you're saying we should wait for the tax share agreement to come out?
Yes.
Okay, so my understanding is that sanitation has a tax share agreement.
No, the county is.
My understanding was sent back. That's what I heard at the meeting the other night on sanitation. So is that correct or incorrect, John?
The tax sharing agreement has been amended and is ready to be brought to this board and to the Palm Beach Senator.
So we do have to approve it again, so if it has been amended or whatever, so then.
So yeah, we knew it was gonna be amended.
Right.
It was minor changes, as I mentioned in the meeting.
Yeah. It still changes. That's my issue, is that it still changes. And
It would change again, you think?
No, but we've been left in the dark related to being co-applicants, so it's the communication between. So that's, again, if we are co-applicants, then we need to be co-applicants and have a say in what goes back and forth. I mean, there's concerns about creating a serial meeting, but when we're talking about the application to the CSD, you would think the entire boards, of both boards, would need to know the communications that go back and forth between the county and whoever. So I just,
Yeah.
and that's a big kind of sticking point with me, especially when multiple emails have gone out with my name inside of the emails that I was never spoken to before. The hand-delivered letter that sanitation took to the Board of Supervisors and the CAO regarding the PG&E A10, I didn't know even existed until I had a elected Board of Supervisor asked if this was how our board felt. And I had to say, no, I've never seen that before. I finally got it, and it refers to attachments from PG&E or from someone, and we don't have those attachments either. So
Yeah.
it's an issue with me that if we're gonna be co-applicants, then we need to be above board.
Right.
So, my biggest issue is the fact, above everything else, is that not all the agencies are on board. That is my concern. I watched my friends at Elk Grove, who worked for Elk Grove Fire, which started as Elk Grove Community Services District. I watched that community services district kind of struggle to begin with, but they have such an amazing commercial and residential tax base that now it's one of the, highest paid departments in the Sacramento Valley. They also have expanded their boundaries to absorb Gulf, not Lodi, Gulf. So now instead of Elk Grove Community Services District, it is consumed as Community Services District. So I have nothing against Community Services District. My issue is this sustainable? We've talked already about the commercial in the downtown corridor. And it's, like we talked about, it's great to have reserves until something happens, we don't.
So one thing I want to comment on is that watching LAFCO, I've been surprised at how much time it takes for them to do anything because the staff is so overwhelmed with a lot, and they have gotten misinformation, then corrected themselves, and then disseminated that information. And there's turnover on that board, and there's, an absence of a key board member on that board. So part of it was LAFCO themselves having delays due to what John has mentioned as not having done this before and learning the process as they go. But my question to you two is, did the elections office say that we couldn't do it because of the different boundaries, or would we have to pay two fees if both districts, which are both involved, would want to bring it to the vote?
So-
I agree with you, Marty, I would love to see it.
Just speaking from what I said, again, generic special election would cost $8,000 to $10,000. I didn't delve into can we do an election to see
And
the
who
public.
pays for it?
Yeah.
Can public agencies pay?
The only reason I know this again is from Columbia, when we wanted to potentially expand the district, you would have to pull all of the, or you would have to send out the special election to expand was to that tentative expansion area and everyone inside of that got to vote. So I don't know how that would, I don't claim to be a LAFCO expert or a CST expert, I don't have a Juris Doctorate degree. But
Let's ask.
Real quick, Mark, you kind of talked about, so the way that, that it was originally set up was, the sanitation district, they paid all the money, pretty much, right? So they were the lead on the project. And so that's kind of how it's always been, right? And that's kind of always been the understanding, that they were gonna take the lead and make changes and do that sort of things. Major changes, obviously, we would need to know about, and we weren't told. But, small changes to a tax sharing agreement or something like that, where you have minor edits and stuff, which would come back to this board, right?
I can't hear you.
Sorry, but it would not matter, right? I mean, so that was kind of the deal, because it doesn't take time from our staff to address that, right? But I do see your concern, without seeing certain documents and such. So, it could be a miscommunication issue or whatnot. But,
so we have an ad hoc CSG committee, correct?
yeah, we haven't been scheduled a meeting. I think me and you were on it, right?
I believe so.
We've never called for a meeting, so.
Again, that's one of those things that why is that committee not being used, just even those minor changes?
Yeah.
That,
It should.
That's
I agree.
being a concern.
I agree with you 100%.
That I don't know if we have documentation anywhere that says we gave carte blanche to sanitation to do with what they want with the CSD process.
I don't know if there is.
So,
But
again, I feel like we've not truly been co-applicants with this project.
yeah, and I think it's part of our lack of cooperation and working with them as well.
Any other board comment?
No.
All right. Aaron, can you repeat your motion? Remember what it was?
Yeah. I motion that we adopt resolution 2023-002 to rescind resolution 2020-01.
And we have,
Excuse me, is there a written resolution somewhere? Because that's what we usually have. Is it in this packet?
We have a draft.
Okay, sorry, let me just look at it. I did not see that, I saw your letter, but I didn't see
is it
an
attached?
actual resolution here. Yeah, I'm sorry to be disorganized here, but I did read all of this. Am I blind?
No, I did not see it in the packet.
Yeah.
Received.
So to have the resolution number, there has to be a written resolution, and I didn't see what it said.
Let's
Is it-
do
is
this.
it- It's not just this paper, right?
And then Aaron's
Letter, Aaron's letter.
Yeah, that's all I got. Yeah, so in order to vote on something, we got to see what's,
Okay, so we have a copy of the resolution here.
That wasn't included in that.
Yeah, it was not included in our packet, so the public hasn't read it, and I haven't read it. Sorry, does anybody else here want a copy of this? We're voting on after all this discussion?
Yes.
You simply just read it.
Yeah, I could read it out loud.
I don't want to keep on dragging this out, but I've had conversations with former county council, Greg Oliver. I've had conversations with Tracy, I've had conversations with Lindsay. So this particular, what we're doing to vote, I know is, I've been said it's, we can do this vote, and also have an email saying there's two ways of going about it. Formally, we could, which is nice to have a resolution, but a simple vote is also okay. So,
But we would have to notice the county, so there would have to be something in writing, and that's how it usually
a
works.
simple vote, if I just motioned to vote that we withdraw from the CSD would be good enough.
Except then the next step is the written
No,
resolution that.
it's not a next step, and it
that
doesn't
tells-
have to be done.
Really?
We can simply just vote to withdraw, but they, Quincy
Good idea.
said it's better to have a resolution, so it's more.
Because it was
formal.
formed by resolution
Or
or?
it's just,
no?
that's just a more formal
Yeah.
way of doing business.
As long as and what I think you may be going to what I was doing said last time, was it did not inform the public what we were doing. And that was what I said in how the minutes reflect, is that we did not tell the public that.
Specifically, yes, and they did agree with that.
And that was my whole,
And this time it wasn't included in your packet, the resolution.
Okay,
And it's referenced by number. Good stuff.
just a minute, just to clarify, because this is important. This says, agreement to submit plan to LAFCO to dissolve the Tuolumne City Sanitary District and the Tuolumne Park and Recreation District and reorganize into the Community Services District and to transfer each district.
Yeah,
So-
and the first paragraph says resolution of the governing body of the Tuolumne Park and Recreation District to rescind resolution 2020-01, joint resolution of the Tuolumne City Sanitary District and the Tuolumne Parks and Rec District. So that refers to
that's how I cleared the
the
discussion.
Okay,
dissolution resolution.
Just double checking the language, thank you.
Okay, I'll read this out loud now that I've read it through once, I don't like not practicing. Resolution number 23-02. Resolution of the governing board of the Tuolumne Park and Recreation District to rescind Resolution 2020-01, joint resolution of the Tuolumne City Sanitary District and the Tuolumne Parks and Recreation District for reorganization and application of the Tuolumne County Local Agency Formation Commission under Government Code Sections 56000 et, whatever SEQ means, as may be amended. I know et al, I don't know what that say. Could be. Tuolumne City Park, or Tuolumne City Sanitary District Resolution number 2020-05 and Tuolumne Park and Recreation District number 2020-01. Agreement to submit plan to dissolve the Tuolumne City Sanitary District and Tuolumne Park and Recreation District and reorganize into the Tuolumne Community Services District and to transfer each district's assets to the new district. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the board direction of the Tuolumne Park and Recreation District rescinds Resolution 2020-01, joint resolution of the Tuolumne City Sanitary District and the Tuolumne Parks and Recreation District for the reorganization and application to the Tuolumne County Local Agency Formation Commission. Whereas TPRD adopted Resolution 2020-01 indicating its consent to form a community services district. Whereas after additional investigation, the TPRD board finds it is no longer in its best interest to pursue a CSD, whereas TPRD desires to withdraw its consent of the formation of a CSD granted by Resolution 2020-01, passed, approved, and adopted by the Board of Directors of Tuolumne Parks and Recreation District on fill in the date by the following vote, and then place to sign.
Can you read that again?
So, what?
So from what I'm understanding is that it wasn't included in the board package, it's not on your website, and now you're, so it wasn't presented 72 hours in advance. I just want to make it clear for the record.
And I don't,
It's a concern.
It was not in the board package.
I would say, we've had resolutions in the past already typed.
It referenced.
Regardless, whether it was given to the public or not, this is gonna have to be done even if we vote tonight. Consideration to rescind, and I say all that, that's gonna have to get typed up tomorrow anyways. So the complaint, just from the public, that we're not in public comment, is invalid as far as I'm concerned. So we can continue on my motion, or I can just make another motion to just withdraw, which I'm completely in my rights to do.
I just,
Can we call, I want to call for the vote,
Just
just to end it.
I'd like one more comment, Aaron, because it says here, consideration to adopt resolution. If you had said consideration to withdraw, we wouldn't have needed to see the
This
resolution.
is exactly what they keep on just red tape, bump after bump. Every misquote that I made, or anybody else, they just continue to just say, look. This is, we got to get done.
Do you want to amend your motion there, or you want to keep it as?
No, I would like to, a motion to adopt the resolution 2023-002, that's gonna have to be written tomorrow anyways, to rescind resolution 2020-01.
It was firsted and seconded.
Yes, it was. And so we're gonna need to vote. I'm just trying to flip through my brown type stuff in my head. Okay. Let's just call for the vote. We'll go from there.
You don't
Um,
have to have public.
Well, I think we already did the public and, yes, sorry.
We read the agenda item, we had our board discussion, we opened it up for public comment, we brought it back, and now we
You
should.
just asked Aaron to repeat.
Yes,
the motion.
just to repeat the motion.
Correct.
Okay. So, all those in favor of adopting resolution 2023-02, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries 3-2. Okay, moving on. Presentation and consideration of Curtis and Wilson building and purchase cost discussion action. Who wants to?
That's why I came tonight.
I'll start.
Somebody started. I can't.
So Kelly has written a new proposal, breakdown of estimated monthly revenues minus estimated monthly overhead and so on and so forth. We met
That's the only reason.
informally with Jeff Wilson at our concert with the car show. And he talked about, the Wilson family talked about giving us 6 months of free rent during renovations. And that is unofficial. And so I would suggest that, okay, so we also included, as best I could, a little bit of a line item breakdown of costs. We were talking about that last month. Last month, the two questions that we fielded were whether we would get free rent or not have to pay a rent or lease during the renovation process necessary to get the building in the condition that we want it to be to rent, right? Okay. And then we were talking about whether we can do it for $60,000 or not. So there's a list here, best of my ability to include everything at cost I feel are fairly accurate. The total of the list, paint supplies, lighting fixtures, tables, chairs, range, hood, sink, refrigerator, freezer, plumbing and propane install, cabinets, and a storage container for tables and chairs, amounted to $24,760. And 15% of contingency brought that total to $28,474. And that leaves a balance of $31,500 of the estimated $60,000 to do the renovation. So of that $31,000, the bathroom reconstruct, and we were told by Capri that we would need an automatic door, an ADA door opener.
On the bathroom?
On the front door, the one that you can push a button and open the door.
Oh, right.
So that was suggested.
Oh, you have to have it on the bathroom then too, right? On the ADA bathroom.
Potentially, I
I
don't
mean,
know.
you see them
So,
here and there.
my point there is that, so I contact Banks Glass, they have those doors, they install those doors. They came and measured, and when they came and measured, he was saying that one of the things he asked me on the phone was about the threshold and the approach to the door. I told him I thought it was pretty flat. In fact, it is flat, and when he was here, he said to his knowledge, he didn't think that that would be ultimately required. So that's kind of in limbo. I'm waiting for a meeting with Brian Bell to walk through the building to identify any potential ADA issues that we would have to comply with, so that we can have a complete list. So that price of the remaining $31,000 balance, that it would have to, provided all the rest of this is close and fairly accurate, it would have to account for an ADA double door as well as the bathroom. So those are the numbers. I feel like if the board were comfortable with those numbers, the next best step would be to have our Turzich and Wilson Community Center Committee meet with the Wilsons to hear firsthand what they have to say. And that consists of, I believe, Mark and Rachel.
And I would really love to meet and get this going forward, and some of the concerns I had really had a lot to do with, the details, as always, and the questions, you've answered a lot of the questions, but I only have next week before I'm gone for a while, right, until our next meeting, so I would really like to
Next week,
do
Monday
this.
through Friday?
Next week, Monday through Friday.
Okay. If we can schedule that, we will schedule that. So, I mean, that's my suggestion. I don't know what my board feels like.
Yeah, I had a couple questions on that. So that was just materials only, no labor?
That's us doing the work.
That's it, yeah. And do you think 6 months is enough time to do that work based on what we've seen with other projects?
I hope so,
Yeah, that doesn't make me very comfortable, right?
Yes, it is.
And then just a couple other things, I can't remember if we talked about flooring at one time. If we talked about, I didn't see those costs included, so I didn't
There's
know
no
if that
flooring cost. I mean, there's carpet in there now. It's red. It's in really good shape. I would not consider. I mean, there were a lot of things that I considered, but not added because I feel like they weren't immediately necessary to get the building in the condition that we would want to rent it. So, yeah, you're right. There is no flooring cost.
I really thought that was a big need for any kind of, because I thought it was nice, I thought it was ugly, that was part of the reason it's so dark in there and the paint wouldn't do that much. So, yeah, we do have the surplus, right? Can't we just get all of these things into the budget using some of our surplus? Because we haven't made any decisions about how to use our surplus, right?
I think that's what they're proposing, is we're using our, so that was just one thing, right? If I was gonna go have my wedding there, right, I don't know if I'd wanna have red carpets. Right, like a stamp concrete, like a concrete, pull the carpet up and do.
Pull the concrete, polish the
polish the
concrete.
concrete floors, what's that square foot, maybe, permits, I don't know if we'll be required, I'm assuming we'll have to get some sort of permitting.
That was one of the other things that we talked to Robert Hawks about, because you had mentioned spending public money on
Right.
private
Yeah, I was just
properties, and
questioning.
it's legit.
Okay.
It's
Thanks.
okay.
Because we have the lease, right? Is
You
that-
have the lease and you're basically renovating it, like a business would.
All right.
Yes.
And then what about repairing to the damaged areas, like where the leak was and stuff like that?
Well, I think that there may have been, so I looked, there's two issues that Gretchen brought up. One is near the recovery area, and the other is in the storeroom where you can see some exposed new copper pipes. And so I think there was a leak there. I haven't talked specifically to Wilson's about it, but the leak has been repaired. So there's just drywall repair that's necessary.
It's
And
actually the floor that I thought needed to be repaired, because I saw that it was copper, but there's a hole, so I was-
right, but those floors, those are like asbestos tiles, or not to say asbestos tiles. I didn't say asbestos tiles, I said they're similar to asbestos tiles. And it's a concrete floor, so it can be straight and polished.
Thank you. But
Any other?
And yeah, drywall repair, it's minor.
Right.
And so the whole, you do all the drywall repair, make sure the paneling's out, paint the whole thing, I allowed for paint inside and out. I did not allow for the carpet to be replaced, but all the light fixtures to be replaced, to add 48 feet of track lighting on the vaulted ceiling. Yeah, as much as I can. A lot more will be done.
You probably already answered this question, but is there any way to have safely under our insurance or legally, once we enter this agreement, events there before things are changed? You can't have any events there without ADA compliance. You can't have like a come and see our crap building and have some wine fundraiser.
Or something else.
Yeah.
Until there's like major upgrade, we're not required to be AD compliant. We're not required to change the building until we
Start
upgrade
work,
everything.
once we started, and
So-
then we got upgraded.
So we could get the lease and then we could have some events knowing it's not
We
ADA.
can have some, major fundraising events there
To say, come look at this
Yeah.
place
Yeah.
and what, I mean, I agree, I,
help us renovate this
yeah,
building.
listen to Kelly's appeal and I would like to support this project, it's just, the money and the details, that's always.
How much of our general fund balance is taken between the two projects we currently have going on without grants? Is this,
Other grants, we said 250 at most.
that, oh, okay,
With nothing raised, with no grants.
that's how much of,
Approved 250,000.
We approved 250, but we have a grant for 180 basically. So you're talking,
right, for the,
70 or so
you're
we're
talking
talking
7,000.
about.
so we have 70 that's not allocated.
Well, we have
What do you
70 that we're committed to. For example, when it was mentioned that projects are not fully funded,
Correct.
I would say that this project is fully funded because the board agreed to fund it through our own budget.
Right.
So the answer to that question is we approved $250,000, and let's just talk about the outdoor theater.
$250,000 of what? For the outdoor theater project?
Yeah, well, 20, there was a small amount included as well for the bike park, but
Okay, that 30 grand or whatever.
25. So 250 for the projects. And 180 is coming back.
Right,
They have to be completed. And some of it's gonna be held out until it's completed. But 180 is coming back to the 250. So if we didn't raise a nickel,
Seven.
it's called 70,000 is coming out of our general fund, is the answer to your question.
So then we would have about 180 in our general fund balance.
We would have more than that, we have three, we have like three something.
It says we have 250.
Okay, well,
Is that right?
currently, maybe currently.
Yeah,
That's before our first big payment gets dropped in there. And
okay.
That's,
So you
And that
expect that-
fluctuates so much at the time, at the end of the fiscal year, it was three, something,
so
320.
can I summarize and you tell me if I'm summarizing correctly?
Mhm.
These two projects, not considering buying, leasing the Jersey Wilson building.
Okay,
We decided to take $70,000 out of our general fund to do this. That's all. That's the most we have at risk.
With the hope of
yeah.
getting
We've got 27 already.
we've raised 27.
Minus that.
And,
That's
well,
43.
but to qualify that also, the 250 was an estimate.
Yeah. Okay.
The total amount was an estimate, and that's what we committed to.
Okay.
So for, but 43 is what we're still on the hook for
On the hook for.
as of right now.
Right, because the
But-
27 is.
But Kelly has also, in the meantime, given you reports where we've raised
We're
already
getting
over
three grand
20
here, there, yeah, we're
Right.
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
So that committed amount is
That's right,
actually
right.
shrinking.
Okay. And our projections for actually getting to use this place, I believe we would make good money once we got it ready to use. That's my question. Can we use it before, for these little, help
Yeah,
us
I
fix
mean,
this
well, we can open the building, we can have people in it, but, again, it doesn't, the term use it depends on how you wanna use it. It doesn't have a kitchen,
Right.
it has 2 bathrooms, great. We can cater an event, we can, do some kind of fundraising event, yes, we can.
Just to get the public to see it and know what's going on and why we're moving this money around and putting things at risk. That's my
Right.
next suggestion, sorry for all that.
All right.
And work.
I do have, go for it. Let Aaron go
I
first.
think for me, just to summarize it, I'm looking at to do the T&W. Okay, we got 43. Hopefully that can get washed out with donations even more.
Okay.
T&W initial cost would be 60. And then the annual estimated cost overhead without renting it is about 11.5 to 12 annually that we would commit to with 16. So just kind of put in perspective some number. And if our reserve's still minus, say we minus the 43 and the 60, that's about 100,000. That would take almost half of our reserve.
It would take, I would like to say that the true reserve at the end of each fiscal year is over 300,000. And
right now.
Yeah.
So we'd lose a third of our reserve.
Yes.
Technically.
You know, and I understand, you know, when you talked earlier, you were kind of talking with the Robert Hawks thing about having, you know, it's okay to have 2 times your, you know, asset or liability.
I don't know how to explain it to you myself.
Anyways, so my concern, I'm thinking a little bit past that, right, or a little bit more than that is keeping you guys employed if such thing happens as the county. Maybe we have another, something bad happens and the county decides to shut down everything again, we lose our county contract. And we, you know, since I was here for that time, and you were too, obviously, but, you know, some of the board wasn't. That was a very difficult time, and, you know, I think having some of that reserve built up, not just for, you know, our assets or liabilities or whatever it is, but so that we can continue employment of our personnel is something that the board should consider.
Well, thank you for your concern, and you're right. But I would say 2 things. I mean, unfortunately, the first thing I'd say is that if we lost the county contract, it would obviously impact our revenue sources, right? But we wouldn't have to maintain, we would not be maintaining the park, we would not be maintaining the hall.
Agreed.
And the unfortunate part, the worst part of that is that we would lose staff.
Yes.
Okay, so.
Which doesn't let us do.
In regards to the budget, I just want to say that from the way I hear you, the board, talk about the idea that we're going to lose our county contract, is simply to say that goes hand in hand with not spending down our general fund for fear of losing that income.
Right.
Well, I mean, the reality would be that the biggest part of our budget is $190,000 of salaries and wages. And again, the unfortunate reality of that would be to say that if we did lose that contract, we wouldn't need $190,000 worth of wages and salaries. So.
But your people.
But
Well, we would
Yes.
lose our people, and like I say,
But-
that's the unfortunate
Right.
part. But the general fund would
Yes.
remain intact because
Yes.
we wouldn't be spending that money.
And I agree with you
So,
on that,
I
but
mean-
so where I lead to that after that, right, is if we don't have any staff, then we can't put it on any events. And
That's true.
the staff that the county
Mhm.
provides to, or, you know, pays us to do, that staff is, they're the one, you know, they're breaking down things and picking up
Yeah.
stuff, and
Yeah.
so we lose that, right? So that's kind of where I would, you know, totally Parks and Rec, right? Our goal is to provide for the community and put on these types of events and stuff, and I just get worried since it's happened in the recent future, and will it happen again? I don't know. I hope not. I really do not hope that happens.
And just to be clear, I'm not advocating that we spend our general fund down to the point that we can't
Right. No,
make a year's payments or whatever the case may be.
and I want this bill. I'm not trying to say like, you know, it's just concerning, right? The board's job is to make sure that the district is solvent and whole and can provide those futures.
So
For future
we also had a meeting yesterday morning with Plum Construction, and we debated on whether it's Plum or Plum, but I'm gonna say it's Plum Construction. And they offered a donation. They didn't offer directly a donation. They suggested to us that we follow up with Sonora Area Foundation, because they contribute to Sonora Area Foundation, and if we got our paperwork in order with Sonora Area Foundation, that they would direct their donations to come to the park district. So, I mean, we are actively, very actively working to, backfill that commitment that the district made with their budget. And so I would also say that if the outdoor theater and bike park were not a consideration, that they are gonna be paid for and not have any kind of liability on the budget, that the idea that this building is available for $60,000 or $70,000 or $80,000 would be almost an obligation of the board to pursue it, because we're here to provide events and activities for the community, and that would be something that would be ours. There's going to be annual
Not
maintenance.
ours, least.
Well,
We aren't buying.
Eventually ours. It is
I,
control, right?
well, but they wanna sell it, they want us to have it, and yeah, I feel like the idea that they're willing to set us up in that building for at least a couple of years means to say that we will need to work within those couple of years to find a way to purchase the building.
And that's,
So there will be obviously monthly commitments and maintenance.
Sorry.
sorry, I guess my hair was sticking.
But
Spot the camera up there.
But with community awareness and involvement, we're also going to, the goal obviously is to offset those costs with rent, so.
And some of my questions are because our estimates here and all the good work that Kelly's done, comes down to right here, total months to recuperate the investment, recoup the investment is 111 months or 9 years and 3 months. So, in our 5-year lease, we're a little bit behind the ball. And I do believe that it's been an underestimation because Kelly's numbers are very conservative. And I would really like to see it in full use. And that's gonna ask for more staff. Once it gets busy and going, the staff costs could go up to maintain it, So just want everything to be considered, and I'd love to meet with Music and Wilson and hope that Mark can do it this coming.
Well, we need to meet with them, and we need to, keep moving this thing forward.
Yeah.
But I feel like it does need some kind of
Commitment.
firmer commitment from the
Yeah.
board.
I get it.
I think
Maybe
we talked about it,
I don't know.
I think James is well aware that if we get into this lease and they decide to sell or it's not working out for us, that we can recoup our money.
We can,
Part of the chip
if
part
they're
of this.
agreeable, then that's something certainly that we incorporate within the
Write
lease.
it into the lease.
What about, what if we said, we put this money in up front, and basically we're putting that money in, and instead of it being a monthly payment that we make to them, it's a balance against the ledger or something. So they wouldn't receive anything until our improvements are paid off. I don't know if they'd be something, to me, that would make me more comfortable, right? Because then we still have that steady stream, whatever we're making on it, we can put towards paying that off. Or, rebuilding our reserve or whatever it is, just a thought to kind of, I don't know if they'd go.
I talked about lease option to buy sort of thing, which is what it sounds like we're doing.
I'm just saying, like, in a month, we basically said we were gonna give them 10% of the income, and then we have monthly things on top of that, so.
And then, when that first meeting we had, we kicked around kind of that
Set
same
off,
thing.
Yeah.
If we invest this money up front, when it comes time that we decide either we're gonna purchase, that goes towards the.
Yeah, it goes towards
Or
the
something,
purchase.
something like that, but that, we'll have to talk to the Wilsons about that.
Well, hear me right? Because I wanna know that, what's the lease length? 3 years,
I think we're I think initially we're looking at 5 years.
Because what I would like to see, that $1,100 per month, at the end, and you're gonna purchase it, that money goes towards, the purchase price. You know, instead of starting over. I always like to know what are they wanna, sell it to us for.
Yeah.
You know, cause they keep putting that off. You know, in 5 years, it's gonna go up how many percent?
I don't think they've really put us
They're
on,
not, yeah, I
they
would,
waited
they're
for
not
us.
putting us off, they're kind of the
Yes.
wrong, it's just taken
Like anything in
time
government.
to get to
Thanks,
this
Steve.
point, yeah. They really wanna work with us as best they can. So another thing to consider is that they mentioned a bond, selling a bond. And we talked to, Robert talks about how bonds work. I feel like the way it would work, Wilson's suggested, the reason they suggested is they would actually, and this is just totally hypothetical, that they would actually purchase the bond. And then it can be structured any way that we agreed on as to the interest paid and the principal paid. But the attractive part to them is that interest paid to them is tax-free. So we're waiting for an amortization schedule from Hawk's office to see how that would be structured. It was not attractive immediately because he did like a 6% on 300,000 or something like that. It was 1,700 a month in interest. So that's pretty
That's
high.
the thing. The bonds that I've known about and been familiar with are so costly because of the interest, so that's the
Yeah.
key point right there.
Do those have to be voted on
I think they do.
in the general election next year?
I think it would have to be.
I don't know how that works. I just heard bond and it's like, we vote on bond measures. I don't know if it's the same thing or what the heck you're talking
Or a
about.
personal
Loan.
bond?
Yeah.
Is it a different kind of bond?
Yeah, I think it's a different kind of bond. And again, we're just now trying to research it and see.
It's an
if we have
idea.
anything there.
Because it's not something you would do.
Pull those answers out, Kelly.
Be down the road a little bit. Yes, Martin?
Hey, I like this. I would suggest a meeting with our Turchick Wilson committee to make a final agreement. Past my bedtime, folks. Good night.
Don't leave till we're done here, we need you.
We're almost done.
Because we're gonna have
Any-
to.
Anything else from the board? Okay, public comment, I saw Mr. Roller had his hand up.
The question I was gonna ask you is, are you guys TPPA members, Tuolumne Public Power Authority members?
No, we're working on doing that, yeah.
The reason being I was asking that is through TPPA, they have small energy grants they offer every year to its members. It's up to $7,500. Fire department's been doing it for, I don't know how many times now. And the nice thing about it is it's all energy efficient upgrades, so lighting, water heaters, windows, stuff like that. Something to consider as you move forward with this, become TPPA members, you can compete in those grants, and that may help you if you were able to obtain a building like that, or even help with this building, whatever. Something to consider.
I'll talk to you more about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other public comment?
Can the board make a motion to the committee to meet with Wilson's, please?
That was gonna be, do we have to have a motion for the committee to meet? I mean, I saw your comment, I don't think they do, personally. But, I mean,
We will direct staff to meet next week, Monday through Friday, at some point with Gretchen and I.
Okay, good enough.
Potentially
Can you
Gretchen.
and I look at the calendar?
Yeah.
James, real quick before we depart? Because
I think and we can kind of hash out some of those things, because I'm still feeling, I think it's a great project. I think it would be amazing to have that facility. I just still have some,
Yeah, I'd like some more firmer numbers. And
and a little bit more answers, like, oh, it's unconfirmed, or this or that, it's like, okay, then,
yeah,
or this is what we can do right now, so.
okay, we will, if you're good with that, James, direct the staff to, okay.
But
All right.
I don't agree. So-
And then 8.3, consideration of resiliency center maintenance contract. Looks like we submitted our proposal. And they said,
And they-
thanks, but no thanks.
That's it in a nutshell. And I reached out to Eric and I have not been able to get a hold of him.
You're not,
But
No,
is,
What?
Eric had his official last day.
Yes, he has.
Yes, Eric Earhart is no longer with the county of Tuolumne. He's moved
Okay.
on to a different job.
Okay, well,
Yeah, he's,
no wonder he's not answering.
that's
Yeah.
maybe why he's not answering his phone. Agenda items for the next meeting, or actually, sorry.
Did they give, besides that, follow up the phone call?
This is what I was trying to
Okay, at least, yeah.
establish.
Interesting.
Any public comment on 8.3? I'll bring it back to the board. I don't think we need to take any action. Okay. Agenda items for next meeting.
Jersey and Wilson.
Flavor of the board, I would like to bring our public comment into what's basically industry standard of 3 minutes instead of 5. I think it would help be respectful of others' times, including our staff as well as our participants.
I'll
So,
agree unless we get back to this issue that's one of the biggest issues. So I'd really like to hear as much as possible from the public, all of the public. So, I mean, 3 sounds good unless there's a lot of the public here to talk about certain issues. And then 5 seems more appropriate.
I've always been of the notion that the public should have as much time as they want to speak.
Because they came all the way out.
Because they come to our meetings and we never have people here, so if they wanna talk for 20 minutes, I'm here to listen to them because that's my job as a TPRD board member. I think I said that when we went to 5 minutes last time, so I'll just repeat that.
Anything else?
Holiday events, that'll probably be an office report.
Yeah.
We're getting the holidays next.
Any other projects that could be in the general manager report or whatever, anything staff can think of that should be on as a discussion or action item as of next month? Do we need to do another economic services corporation?
Probably.
Yeah,
It's been 2 months or 3 months.
and hopefully there's money going in there.
Feels like it's about that time.
Yeah.
So maybe do an economic services corporation meeting after the next meeting's closed.
All right, anything else?
A motion to adjourn?
I will second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you, everyone.